And so you're still as active as you were before. What are you doing?
I am still very active. I should just give you the story. I was first a banker while I was in school. Then I became an educator, early childhood, which is what has brought me to the Cayman Islands.
Right.
For this week of the young child. I was an educator for some 30 years.
Okay.
And then at the end of that, not actually at the end, while I was still an educational consultant, a group of us decided that the Caribbean community was one of the few communities not represented in the New York City Council.
Okay.
And there was an expansion for the numbers of people who should be in the City Council because they found that it was illegal the way the council was put together. Some people were elected, others were appointed, and so a charter commission came in, and their finding was that the city should reflect its diversity.
Okay.
And the Caribbean community was one of those communities, diverse, yet a solid community of immigrants that was not represented. There were 4 of us who decided that we would become activists, we would become advocates, and that we would make sure that every hearing that was had in the city of New York, that we would present ourselves, we would get them to understand that Caribbean persons, although black, were not African Americans, and that we came with the same needs that other immigrant groups came with to the United States. So the Irish came and had their time, the Italian came and had their times, the Jews came and had their times, and we felt that that was our time and that we should have representation.
Yeah.
There were 3 men, and none of the men would run.
Okay.
Although they positioned themselves like they would run. So finally I was the one woman in the group, and they said, well, since you talk so much, why don't you run? And I said, I will. So I took leave of absence to start the run. And from my job. And while I was in the middle of the run, I found out that it was illegal for me, because there was federal money that was paying me, that there's an act which is called the Hatch Act, that I could not run for public office at the same time I was receiving pay.
Okay.
So I just quit
the
job and took the chance, and I had a real hard race.
Yeah.
Because I ran against an African American, and the African American community did not take kindly to a woman from Jamaica, a woman from Jamaica,
in New York,
challenging, and so I won by 38 votes.
Okay.
But that was fine. A win is a win. A win is a win. And then 2 years later, I had to run again because it happened right after what was called a census, when they do reapportionment, and so I did a first 2-year term. At the end of that 2 years, I ran again and won by 96% of the vote.
Wow.
Then
so they believed.
They believed. After 2 years of hard work and 2 years of being an advocate and speaking for myself, speaking for the community, everybody felt I was for real.
That's great. That's great. And then you ran again.
And then I ran again.
You got back.
And that's right. And so in my final run, I won by 98% of the votes.
Look at that.
And I keep telling everybody, for my second run, I'm looking for those 4%ers that didn't support me. And for the final run, I'm looking for that 2%.
Right.
That didn't support me or didn't vote for me, because if I know who they are, they're going to be in a lot of trouble with me.
That's funny. You know, it's interesting because here you are, and a lot of times when you're in public service, you're working for people, you're working for the good of people, and sometimes people don't even appreciate it.
Well,
and that's just the way it goes. But you still do it.
You have to, and you have to speak for everybody, whether they like you or they don't.
Right.
You become their voice and their face. And then my motto in office was, I am the voice of the voiceless and the face of the faceless in my community. And so it ended up with my slogan, the voice of the voiceless and the face of the faceless.
I love that.
So
I love that. Yeah. I mean, I'm a social worker by profession, so that's what we believe. We believe that you advocate for those who can't for themselves. So I think that's absolutely admirable.